Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tonight's of the Round Table. I'm Luca, and this is TJ.
Well, there.
For tonight's movie, we are reviewing Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting pick. Monty Python: The Holy Grail is a comedy film which follows Arthur and then Knights of the Round Table as they search for the Holy Grail. In this movie, roughly based on Arthurian legend, we see a number of gags from the Great Monty Python group, before which are loosely based around Arthurian theme as well as various elements of the medieval period. So, Luca, you named this show. This in part inspired the name of the show.
Yeah,
What's the history with this film?
I first saw it in my robotics club. My robotics mentor decided to put on Monty Python and the Holy Grail one day, and because he likes the jokes in it, he thinks British comedy is like a genius level of comedy, and I kind of agree with him. And we just sat in the lab and watched it, and
That's
we all busted out laughing.
that's great. That's great.
I think it's a very funny movie. The jokes are well written, and even though some drag on a bit long, they still keep the movie entertaining. And I like the
Yes.
characters too. That they have their own fun stories.
Yeah. Castle Anthrax scene just dragged on. But let's talk. But yeah, I really, yeah. Starting with the big thing piece of the puzzle. Starting with a big piece of the puzzle. Like the comedy is, I think it's really well done. It's absurdity being built on absurdity, all just said in this with a straight face, which just makes it intriguing to watch. Like there's so many different types of jokes, visual gags, animations, like wordplay, like parody. There's just so much of it being put one after another, as well as just various set pieces shown one after another. That even when something doesn't really work, there's just something that comes along to replace it. And yeah, I think it's a very effective comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the animation is well done. It's fun to watch, and I like seeing these sideshow characters get hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Terry Gilliam did those things, I believe. And this is another interesting thing. This film was made on the cheap.
What's the budget?
What was the budget? About 7,000. I believe it was around 7,000 by today's inflation would be about a little under a million, which is incredible.
So seven
Like
thousand
okay, yeah, like in when was this made? When was this made?
for a masterpiece like this.
Yeah, masterpiece is a weird term, but yeah, it is. But yeah, obviously something like a lot of it looks cheap, but even and is which is used for comedic effect. But even like for instance, the coconut gag which we see throughout the film, that wasn't just a joke. It was because they couldn't afford horses. Like that was partially practical. But even then, it's just such an impressive thing. Like there's just so many extras and so much stuff. Like I mentioned, the animation and all animation, but also props and although the costumes do look a little cheap, it's still impressive just the amount of detail that goes into them. Also, this is also a little detail I realized in my most recent viewings. Like I also realized that King Arthur's son has a mustache, which is a nice little detail. Yeah, and it also looks beautiful. Like this was shot in Scotland, apparently in poor conditions, but it was just like, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Anyway, who needs some horses? Coconut noises are better.
yeah. Yeah, for comedy. So I'd rather have a. So in most cases, I'd rather have a horse and realizing my outline looks like the void. Also a neat little thing. there's only like with a few exceptions, like off the top of my head, I think it was the wedding scene, the exterior for the castle there, in the first castle. All the castle scenes were filmed on two castles. One, yeah, like it's just shot in different angles, which is impressive. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does give us the illusion that they're traveling from place to place, when in
yeah,
reality they're just filming in two castles.
yeah. It's impressive. Yeah, it's interiors and
They do good
exteriors.
at eluding us.
Yeah, it's not, yeah. Not, also a little thing I noted. Also, and I have no proof of that. I didn't see anyone mention this, but I swear, like again referring to the wedding scene, the guards in the beginning of that skit. I swear that's the same costume as the French knights. Just the hat, just the chainmail stuff is put on top of it. I've again, I have no proof of that, but I swear. But like, look at it's the same costume.
It is
That's
something
not
looking into.
laughing. Yeah. So what to go into next?
What do you think of the characters?
I think they work very well. They work very well for the film.
Hmm.
They're over the top. They're wacky. They're I think that would be the same thing.
Uh,
They're and they're just and they are and it works it works extremely well. Most of the most of the Monty Python cast played them, except for the king. I mentioned this to you earlier, but let's see the Grom Grom Chapman. Like I never really looked into who played him, but I was surprised that wasn't
it's
part of the
Graham.
main group. Graham
Graham Chapman.
Graham Chapman, thank you. Graham Chapman, which surprised me. But yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed. But yeah, they're delightfully over the top. It's great, and it's just sort of entertaining to see, and just entertaining to see like these actors sometimes just go unhinged. Like I'm mentioning the like I'm mentioning the wedding scene a lot. Like who played Gwen? Who was that night? Sir Guinevere, I believe.
I don't know his actor.
Yeah, like but the knight, Sir Galahad. I believe it was Galahad. I believe it was Galahad. Whoever that act, Terry Sussan Sons. I think that was the wrong one, and I think that was who was the knight who played them, Sir Guinevere, I believe.
Hmm.
And when he and it's so enjoyable to see him just in an over the top fashion rate of wedding. Yeah, and it's just yeah. So they thought they did a really good job, and if I yeah, like not it's not good in a traditional acting sense, but it works very well with this movie and how and the absurdity of its world.
It's one of the most funniest wedding raids I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've not seen, yeah. Well, in all fairness, it's hard to make those things funny.
Oh yeah.
And
What do you think of the bunny?
the bunny, I thought the bunny scene was I thought the bunny scene was well done. It just yeah
The
is
the bunny was something else.
yeah something else. Yeah I really enjoy how fake the puppet. Like I really also really enjoyed how fake the puppet looked. It was just such a yeah. It's just such a crazy scene. It's just such a great scene to just again, it's and which is hard to talk about with just without just spoiling the whole thing. I also really I mentioned how some I also really like how intentionally or no, like many effects look kind of bad. Like I mentioned the bunny scene, but also some of the costumes look bad. There's some weird, yeah, and there's just some bizarre things happening, which I think gives it a real charm. It works well with the comedy, and it's just fun to see. It's actually nice to see a film be that this film was made. There's a real like craftsmanship. There's a real craftsmanship to it, which I really enjoyed seeing. Also, you could also see that in the Nights Who Say Need, which
Me!
I'm assuming it's just the actor just standing on a stand.
Or on stilts.
Stilts. Yeah. One complaint I do like. This isn't at the movie. One, if anything, this film is a little too popular for its own good, which is not the movie's fault by any means, but it's just yeah. But I think a lot of the jokes have become so iconic and so over, over referenced and overused, used not by the film itself, but like outside of it. That
Yeah.
Some of the punches taken away. Still funny though. And if you all, by some means, haven't heard anything about this film, go find it. It's on Netflix, and it's a really good laugh. It's a really good laugh.
Yeah, so as for the effects in the movie, I think they could have had a little more effort put into them, but since it's a comedy film, I'll give them a pass.
Yeah, it doesn't. Also under $1 million, so that's there's that too.
Yeah.
You mentioned, yeah. I guess we should talk about how the film is structured. So what scenes did you think dragged a little bit?
The coconut joke and the scenes where they argue with the Frenchman.
Yeah, I think I really like. Yeah, I'm not too bothered by those scenes. Like although I do agree some things, some jokes do last a little too long, which yeah, which is fine because there's usually a lot of jokes within them that usually add a little comedy. So it doesn't really so many, and also not to mention jokes that kind of work from being too for being too long, like just sort of being dragged out in a bizarre way. Thinking about the Black Knight scene, but it's yeah. But really, one of the few scenes that really bothered me with that was sort of the Castle Anthrax scene. It's just like like even in the movie, it's mentioned that they wanted to cut it, and I can see why. What's your thoughts on that scene?
Oh, wait, are you talking about the scene where the the lady's taking a night?
Yeah.
Oh, I I thought it was cringy.
Yeah, it's not.
It was kind of it was a little hard for me to watch.
Yeah, it's mostly. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, mostly boring for me. I do like the joke in the middle where they break the fourth wall though. That is very clever. That is
Like
very
I don't think it's that funny.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think yeah. Like even again, they literally just say they want to cut the scene. It's just keep on going.
Like it's just boring.
Yeah.
We don't need that scene.
I mean, yeah. It's also yeah. Also, this is a little nitpick. Like it's a lit. I find the film to be a little meandering at points. It doesn't. It's not, which isn't too bad for this film because it's a comedy film, but it's also very episodic. So we're constantly going from story to story. But I do think, like for instance, the beginning just feels like it drags on for a little bit. We only really get and really the ball only starts rolling around the 40-minute mark, I believe, which is just yeah. Again, not that the 40 minutes is boring. It just feels yeah, it just feels like it just could be a little cut a little neater. I'm thinking it's definitely.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
What are some of the things less popular jokes you liked in the film? Ones that aren't as quoted over and over again.
The joke where like some of the minor characters tell the main ones to get on with the story, stop goofing off.
Yeah, that one's a. That
Yeah,
one's yeah.
that one seems original.
Yeah, a lot of. Yeah, I do like the. I do like its constant. I do like its constant. I I do like its constant jabs at musicals because a lot of this movie is sort of parodying like musicals based on King Arthur and the Middle Ages. So I do like a lot of those scenes. Like I like the like the
Yeah.
prince who's constantly trying to sing, which yeah, I like the Camelot scene. It's like, and they're just yeah. I found those scenes to be funny, as well as again going back to the Camelot scene, just how this movie kind of parodies the idea of movies in weird ways. Like it knows it's a movie, and it's just constantly just making fun of that fact. And yeah, which usually does not take you like the character, and it doesn't really feel like the characters are doing it. Again, the characters are taking all of this seriously. It's just the film, but like there's the narration and the editing, which is just almost at the verge of falling apart at points
Yeah.
until it actually does. We also mentioned to get on with the gag, which is a prime example of that.
Yeah, they try everything in their power to speed up the movie. Like if some scenes drag on too long, they'll just put in something funny to like move it along.
Yeah, some,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, a notable example is when they're being chased by a cave monster and the animator of the monster dies of a heart attack, so they get out free.
yeah. That would be so sad. That is a funny thing. That would be so sad when Terry Gilliam dies, but it's still a funny scene. Speaking of
So do you like the sets in the movie?
the sets, I thought they look cheap. I like them. They look cheap, which is like the sets. They look kind of cheap, which works for the film's benefit. But I do again. I mentioned how I like the more, like you can tell that somebody made them, which gives it, which indirectly or no, really gives it a charm, which is charm, like this made, like it's a made thing. Which, but even then, there are some impressive sets. There are some really impressive sets. Like I like the scene in the middle of the film when King Arthur and what is a smart knight's name? Anyways, like when they're confronted by the old man from the Bridge of Death, like that, like for the first time. Like that's a pretty cinematic looking scene, and there's a number of other scenes like that which feel very yeah which feel very cinematic and like in a genuine way. There's just so much heart in this movie. So what have we not touched on? We touched on rest in peace, rest in peace, Sir Bernavere. Oh yeah,
Wait, which one's Guinevere?
Terry Jones, Terry Joe Jones, I believe. Rest in peace, Terry
Oh,
Jones. One of the he does a
yeah,
good job.
he'll be missed.
Yeah, he's
What are your thoughts on the Cowardly Knight?
the Cowardly Knight, played by let's see, Sir Robin. Let's
Sir
see,
Robin, yes.
I thought it was a yeah. I thought it was a funny. I thought that was a fun scene. Like I liked this. Yeah, I think Eric Idle does a good job from a comedic standpoint, being this cowardly character. Yeah, it's fun. I like his minstrels and how they die. There's some yeah, I liked him. I have yeah. I also like the free-headed man that he fights. That's just again another fun effect, if not the most convincing one.
Yeah, he has his fair share of funny moments,
Yeah,
and it just adds effect when his minstrels point out that he's a coward.
yeah, yeah. Also, also apparently that photo, that establishing shot for that scene, that was just a photo with a candle under it, which is so which is so bizarre, which like it's so bizarre looking at the many ways that they worked with the budget, and it gives yeah, and it just so and it kind of and it kind of hires the movie to a new plane, which I really enjoyed. Yeah. So yeah, so I guess we should wrap. So I guess we should wrap some of these things up.
Okay.
I'm assuming you'll recommend the movie, correct?
I would, yes. Would you recommend it though?
Yes, I would I would recommend it. It is a very, I think it's a very fun, very heartfelt film, which I believe deserves to be celebrated. And I would highly, it's a fun watch. There's a lot of creativity and a lot. It's funny. It's well written, and I'd highly recommend it. I think it's a great film. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, and
I give it a 9.8 out of 10.
yeah, how about that?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
So
anything else? Anything else about the movie?
No, I think we've covered everything.
All right. Okay. I want to review a slightly less celebrated comedy, Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill.
Okay,
Alright.
Jack and Jill.
All right. Thank you all for your time, and may you all have a great evening.
Thank you,
or
TJ.
morning, and or whenever you're watching this.
Yeah.
All right. And cut.
Thank you for joining.